Hello everyone, my name is Clint, and today we're going to be talking about how to create a second domain controller on Hyper-V. So now, if you are getting used to this, just a little bit about my stats that I'm going to be using. Obviously, I'm running Hyper-V on Windows 11 Professional, and I have already enabled virtualization through the features and the programs and features. And now I'm just going to go ahead and get started on creating this. And so what you want to do first of all is to head over here. I already have the stats, and I would put this in the description if you need to. These are the stats that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be obviously after the installation of the Windows Server operating system, I'm going to go ahead and just for clarity, we're going to be installing Windows Server 2022, and then the memory that I'm going to be using is 4 gigs with 2 processor, and that seems to run pretty fine on my Windows 11 laptop. And I'm actually running this on a laptop, not on the desktop. So you can pretty much, if you have enough RAM on your desktop and you have the right stats on your desktop, you can pretty much follow along with this and learn as well. Let me know in the comment description if you want me to answer a specific question, if you have difficulties running Hyper-V. So let's just get started. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click on new, and I'm gonna go click on virtual machine. It's gonna ask me a whole bunch of questions, whether or not to create a virtual machine, do one of the following. You can say finish or create, but we want to do next. So click on next, and I want the name to match the name of the first domain controller, and I'll give it 02. Now, if you have a specific location that you would like to store your virtual machine, then go ahead and click store. I typically have a location and a different hard drive on my laptop that I would like to use, which is separate from my other operating system hard drive, and I like to use this one. So clearly you can see my other virtual machines here. So I'm going to go ahead and say select that, use that location, and then it would ask whether this supports new virtualization features, whether it uses UEFI generation 2 and all that. So this actually comes down to doing a little bit of research if you are trying to install an operating system. I know it's a little bit different for Ubuntu Linux, where you have to decipher whether you're using generation 1 or generation 2. Typically, the operating system, I would say by paper, would tell you whether or not you should use generation 1 or 2 on Hyper-V. So I'm just going to go ahead and select generation 2. So here, it's already, for here, you can actually use your calculator and determine the amount of RAM you have. We know that 1 gig is equivalent to 1024 MB. So when you multiply 1024 MB times 4, you're going to get 4096. We don't want to use dynamic RAM because I don't have all the RAM on my laptop to spare. So I'm just going to go ahead and uncheck that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And you can use a default switch. I went ahead and created a specific switch that I want my VMs to be using, which is separate from the default switch. And the reason why I did that is because I like to run my other operating system on a different switch. So again, this will be in a much more detailed video in the coming weeks why I created a separate switch. But you can go ahead and use default. I'll go ahead and use VMNAT because that's what I created for my Windows VM machines. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and then here you can leave the size as default 127. It's not really a big deal. And since this is just a tutorial, and I think I have the other one here. Hold on a second. Let me log in. And I want to see the size of my other 80 so that I can, you know, kind of gauge. I gave it 100 gigs, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use 100 gigs of my other domain controller. So I'm going to change this to 100 gigs and I'll look through. Everything seems fine. I don't have an existing virtual hard disk. I don't want to attach a virtual hard disk later. I want to go ahead and create it right now. So I'm going to click next. I do have the system image. At least I believe I do have the system image. I'm going to go look for the system image. I'm going to go into where I have that downloaded, and it's this. I believe that is the Server 2022. I'm going to go ahead and click open and next, and I'm going to look over. Everything looks fine, looks good, and I'm going to click finish. And now it's going to go ahead and create that. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this. Over here, click start. And for the sake of this video, oops, I think I missed that. Go ahead and do this again. Press any key. For the sake of this video, I'm going to skip the actual installation and come back when the installation is complete. But I'm just going to walk you through some of the processes here. You want to click next. You want to click install now. And it is going to go ahead and install. Setup is starting. It's not an evaluation. It's not an evaluation. It will actually, okay, so pretty much when you download this, the ISO file from Windows, Microsoft, it will pretty much be a standard evaluation until you enter the actual key, which we would go through in much later videos. But for now, just go ahead and click standard desktop experience. You want to make sure you select the desktop experience. This is not a data center. This will be the standard evaluation. Hit next. Go ahead and accept. And we want to do custom install. It's not an upgrade. Custom install. We have 100 gig allocated to this. Go ahead. If you also, that part that I just skipped will be the part where you can go ahead and allocate, or the kind of, set up your disk space if you want to partition drives and all of that. But I chose not to. I just went ahead and hit next. All right, so I will come back once this is done. Okay, so we are back, and now I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the password. I'm gonna enter a password that I believe I can recall and make it easy for myself. The default username is administrator. This cannot be changed. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a password. Well, actually, I'm gonna create a password that won't have a conflict with my, oh, my bad, sorry about that. That would not have a conflict with my Active Directory. So I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, this is embarrassing. Give me 1 second. I can rectify that. That is, there we go. Okay, we have that, and we are going. And I'm like, I don't really like making my screens very big. Here's a neat trick. If you happen to have resources that you want to attach from your device, so you could always do this. Click here. I have the share VM that I always want to connect. Come down here, save my settings for the future, connect, and we'd always remember that. All right, let's see if I can get this with one try. Yeah, I did. All right, so now you notice the time is 9:22 a.m. Do you want to allow to be discovered by other PCs? Blah blah blah. It's on this network, and I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, of course. I'm gonna say don't show me this again. I'm gonna come down here, manage server properties, and I'm gonna say don't start this automatically. Blah blah blah. Bunch of services need to be started. Blah blah blah. All right, that is fine. And then you see Windows 2022 standard evaluation, Windows license valid for 180 days. We can go ahead and change this as well. We want to enter in the actual license. Okay, so I just finished installing the ServerStandard edition with the product key. So I'm just going to go ahead and restart the computer. You're going to be asked to restart the computer. Now I can do yes, and we'll go ahead and do that. And I'll reconnect once it's done. And we are back. All right. This is taking longer than I anticipated, but then again, it's because we have a few other things that we want to do. So right away we notice that once we log in, the evaluation goes away once we put in the key. And I'll put the description for the command to run if you're following along with this video to input your key in a Hyper-V environment on your Windows server. So now we have the Windows server, and now the next thing we want to do is go ahead and add it into the domain controller. So we see systemdm, this, and then we come here, and the name of this is that. Oh. And I am gonna call this okay, and everything looks good. It checks out. I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. It should pop up with a password if everything checks out correctly. So we're just gonna wait, and yeah, I'm gonna use my admin password since I'm trying to join that domain. And if everything works, it's gonna say welcome to the domain that I'm trying to join. I'm gonna say okay. It's gonna ask me to restart the computer, which again I'm gonna go ahead and do restart now. So now we're back. Pretty much doing the domain that I'm trying to, and this is the AUP acceptable use policy that I wrote up myself just for kicks and giggles. So now you can clearly see I have to sign into this domain. That's how I know I'm on the domain. And this, just in case you're wondering, this is the same server we just created. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in my admin credentials, and I'm gonna go ahead and log in. And then I'm going to, the next thing we're going to try to do, and since I'm putting this in here now, a couple of things I'm going to have to change, which we already did, but because I put it into a domain, it's going to go off the group policy. So I'm going to have to make these changes again. So I'm going to come back here and say, start this, and say okay, and then I'm going to come down here. 5 services. I'm gonna go ahead and start all those services and hit OK, and we can minimize that. And all this is just me, my own personal ish I have with Microsoft that I like to just take care of. If you notice, the time is still very wrong, and we can correct that with the actual correct time. However, I would like to use the policy, so the actual group policy, to fix that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and grab my actual domain controller, and I'm gonna log in, and I'm gonna go to where that computer is. It's going to be right here, and I'm going to move it to where the domain controllers are. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I have some policies that I wanted to use. Now keep in mind, it's not yet a domain controller doing that, so you could choose to make it a domain controller before actually moving it there. But then again, I chose to move it there and then make it an add domain controller. So I'm just going to pop this up now and look at the services that are stopped. Start services, hit OK. Everything is green, it looks good. So now this is where I'm going to add roles and features and make it a domain controller, and it's going to be role based, and this is it. This is the IP address, and this is the other part. Because I almost skipped this part, because this is going to be a domain controller, I want to make sure that the IP address remains static and it doesn't change all the time. So ncpa.cpl, come here, and I'm going to say properties, and I'm going to uncheck the IPv6 and use IPv4. And the other thing you want to do is type in cmd, say ipconfig. And I apologize for moving a little bit too quickly. I feel like I'm not even moving fast enough, to be honest. But then again, I just want to capture this. This is the default gateway, and this is the current IP address, IPv4 address. So I can try and shrink it so that we can have it side by side. Would that work? I feel like I'm gonna catch a little heat in the comment section. But then again, this video is just a simple tutorial. Okay, so we know it's 192.168, 0 and 4. Oh, great. And that's 4, and that's 255, 253, and this is 192.168, 0. I believe it was 1, but I'm just going to confirm. Yes, it is 1. And that is the default gateway address. And then sometimes the DNS preferred DNS server is going to be 192.168.0.2, which is the IP address of the first domain controller. And then I just do 8.8.8.8 here, which is Google's DNS alternate. But really, what I should do is 127.0.0.1. Since I now have, well, I'll come back to this once I set this up as the second domain controller. So now I'm gonna head back in here. Since it's static now, I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna hit next, and now active domain services. I'm gonna add the features to active domain services, and anything else that I need to add that will greatly be used or important, I can go ahead and add it here. And this is Windows Deployment Services and Windows Server and the rest of them. Okay, so we go ahead and hit next. Everything looks good. Policy management, Windows Director, remote access to system drive, PowerShell. I'm gonna take a look at this. PowerShell 5 is what we're looking for. It's installed. And support, XPS. And there's a whole bunch of other things that you may want to add if you currently use those. If not, just go ahead and hit next. The destination is automatically if required. You want to check that. Reset automatically restart. You want to do that, say yes. And I'm going to go ahead and install. Again, I'll come back once this is done. So voila, we have it completed. And so now we can continue and hit close. So now we have it up there. Now we head back here. It promotes this. You're gonna want to click on promote this server to a domain controller, and then now this is where the rubber meets the, I can't remember the term. Interesting. But anyways, the rubber meets the road. Sorry. Woo. Okay. So add a domain controller to an existing domain. Yes. You can add a new domain to an existing forest if you want to do that, but that's not what we want to do because we already have a domain. What we want to do is add a domain controller to an existing domain. And so we check the domain, the current user is this, we'll go ahead and hit next. And we don't want to make it a read-only domain controller. A read-only domain controller will be the controller that doesn't necessarily doesn't write, it just reads, you know, whatever information that is being replicated to it. We have that, and now we want to type in the directory service restore mode password. This might be, I may need to check back on this, but if you have the DSRM password, I'm going to go ahead and type it in here. I think I do, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I stood up the first domain controller. Let's test my memory, see how terrible my memory is. Doesn't look like I have it right. Otherwise, this would be, yeah, I may need to look up a few logs, see if I can fish out the DSR memory. Okay, I think I was able to fish out the password from my keeper. Hopefully it's a correct one. We want to more about the delegation plan cannot be because the authorities apparent cannot be found. Because the authorities cannot be found, does not run on the DNS installation. Otherwise, no action is required. This is DNS delegation, which we don't have to worry about at this moment right now. I'll specify the media FM, FMI, from any domain controller. No, replicate from the specific domain controller. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit next. And that looks fine. And it looks good. And we'll see. Fingers crossed. It's been a while since I did this, so I'm actually running this without any pre-checks or pre-installation. I'm just going ahead and yeah, all previous checks passed, blah blah blah. These are all the informations that we have. System allow cryptography algorithm that prevents weaker cryptography when establishing security channels. That's fine. Go ahead and install it. And yeah, let's see how long this takes. This is actually a very good exercise for me because when I was setting all this up, of course I did my due diligence back then. Now, I am just going at it as someone who wants to just share my knowledge, and it's interesting because some of these contents I should have really looked over. All right, so I am going to be signed out and it's going to be restarted because the Active Directory was installed. That is fine. And I remember I said we were going to make some changes here, so I'm going to go to I guess the restart happened before I could get to it, which is fine, which is okay. Honestly, now that I think of it, I should have made this a not a video, but an actual live video, because this is going into 22, 23 minutes now, and I don't think anybody has that patience to actually see through a 23-minute video in this day. I know I don't. I'll probably skip through a whole lot of this if I was on the receiving end of this. But then again, everyone is different. Maybe there are folks out there who are actually interested in knowing what I have to say. So this is going to be fun. I'm going to go ahead and pause until this is done. Okay, so we are back, and this is 8002. I'm going to go ahead and type in that. And just like that, we have a second domain controller setup ready to use. And the time is still wrong, so let's go ahead and fix the time issue. Let me know if this actually works. Group policy updates. Press the summon is going to result in the only contact caused by one-on-one name resolution that don't connect directly with Tennessee. The contact policy could not be updated, so the contact policy is not updating. I need to check. I need to pull up the first one and see what is causing it. It could be, my guess is it could be that it is not in the right OU. So let's go ahead and check that. So I'm gonna pull up this one, come up here. Any day now. There we go. Well, it looks like it's in the right OU. Yep, they are in the right OU. that's in the right OU. There is a policy that is assigned to them. Oh, what? Well, I guess. Nope, 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 not yet. I am gonna come here. I'm gonna default domain controllers. Ah, okay, so I have not assigned the policies here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna assign certain policies like time management policy. I'm gonna enforce that, and the reason I'm enforcing is to make sure that it gets transferred over. Remote management, and I'm gonna go ahead and enforce that. And link, of course, we're gonna link labs as well, and I'm gonna go ahead and enforce that. I need to also run a command for labs to run. I'll take care of that in another video. But okay, so now what we want to do is figure out why this is not running. The group policy should update. Now I'm gonna go grab the server manager. Okay, the group policy update has completed. It did that successfully. That's good. So I'm gonna come here. Alright, so now the time for some reason is not adjusting properly. So what I can do is, since the policy updated well, I am gonna go ahead and restart it. And yes, this is a plan. And see if it fixes itself, because it's supposed to say 1256. But we'll go ahead and figure out what's going on, because there is a script that should run to take care of the time effect. So let's go ahead and look at that script in domain controller 1. At this point, you can go ahead and stop the video because I have actually successfully stood up a domain controller, so there's really no need to continue. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and stop the video. This has been a program brought to you by WayTutors. My name is Clint. Thank you for watching.